does great is it's not ashamed that it's a musical,
Well,
unlike
that's what I
so
was, because
many
we've covered
things.
before on this that like
Yeah,
a lot of films like the Willy Wonka and the Mean Girls remake and all that kind of
yeah,
stuff, they seem embarrassed to be musicals, and I do think that translates not just in the marketing, but in the way they're visually staged in the movie. Like,
yeah. Oh God, yeah. No, I talked about the Mean Girls musical. The Mean Girls musical couldn't make up its mind on if it was to
yeah.
be a musical or not. No,
Like you,
this
like yeah,
one is.
like Matilda was like fully all in on the fact that it was a musical, and like there were like loads of big choreographed numbers. But that's the only one I can think of. Like even The Greatest Showman was a little gun shy in its presentation, and that's fully a musical. Like
Yeah, that kind of yeah, that had the pop music thing, and now it had some circus of it, like it had some kind of circus spectacle things, but it didn't have grandiosity. Like this
yeah,
has
yeah, yeah.
full entourage casts doing big choreographed numbers
Mm,
throughout the entire movie. The soundtrack, like the adaptations of the songs in this were great.
mm,
Like huge chorus sounds,
yeah.
with a big full orchestra. Um, yeah, no, like it actually just really hit it out of the park.
And what
But
do
the
you like to kind of like zone in on this a bit more? What is it about the way like obviously I know the musical's great. It's like it's basically like the new Phantom. Like I know that. But like what is it about the way cinematically like these songs, why do they work as a movie thing where other things don't?
uh, I mean, again, I think going back to what I was saying, it fully embraces its fact, and because its world is big and fantastical, it it actually because obviously theater and stage is a lot about interpreting
Hmm.
things that can be fantastical. Like, you'll have kind of like big shapes that are meant to interpret big machines, but they can't actually do a big machine on a live stage.
Yeah.
This kind of adds form to that. Like, as I said, there are speaking animals in that are on the stage play anthropomorphic, like they're people in costumes that are meant
Like
to look like
cats.
a
Yeah.
goat. Yeah, yeah. Whereas what kind of threw me, and I didn't realize it until I saw the ad, in the movie, they're CG animals that talk. It's a goat that looks like a goat.
Right.
Um,
Because that's
and
something I wondered about because like I love The Wizard of Oz. It's like a brilliant movie. It's one of my favorites. I'm
yeah,
sure that's not an original opinion. But like in it obviously you've got like actors playing lions and then mixed in with like real monkeys and all that jazz. Like, So like my visually what I was wondering is are they gonna go full in an animal as an animal in this version of Wicked? Or are they going to sort of exist in that in-betweeny space and just make that a feature of the world? Like I think the James, oh God, who's the guy who played the young Green Goblin in those
the
rainy
James
movies? James
Franco one.
Franco. Like the James Franco one, which really wanted to be wicked but was too ashamed, really kind of had that weird in-betweeny are animals animals or not thing. And I was wondering how they'd interpret that in this one.
No, they've gone full animals are animals. And
So a
here's
cat is
the
a
okay,
cat and a dog is a dog. Okay.
yeah. Now, here's the thing. As I said, this movie, great. Nice, concise. The movie ends like defying gravity is the end of the movie. It's
It's
big,
the
it's
reason
spectacular, it's about
Frozen
babies.
exists. Yeah, completely.
Exactly. So I'm not like, I think, they nailed it. Fine, great. Now they have to make a whole movie out of Act Two. Ian,
Mm.
how much do you know about Act Two of Wicked?
About as much as I know about Act One, which is I know that the witch is like a freedom fighter, but beyond that, very little, frankly.
So Act Two of Wicked primarily takes place in conjunction with the plot of The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh. Okay.
And like because they don't have the rights of The Wizard of Oz, I don't know what the rights situation with theater is. But at least in the stage play, it's always alluding to the fact. Dorothy is not a character in the theater version, but she's alluded to.
Right.
The house drops on the Wicked Witch of the East, who in this is Elphaba's sister.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I
also,
wonder how they handle that. Yeah.
that's another thing is that the play like has a terrible habit of forcing characters together, like as in forcing characters to become characters from the Wizard of Oz.
kind of that Star Wars prequely problem where it's like, all right, you got to be Darth Vader by this bit of
Let
the
me okay.
movie. Come on, yeah,
Let me break this down for you. So the
right,
Cowardly Lion
right,
is a lion cub that Elphaba rescues from her college from a cage.
okay,
The Tin Man is the Wicked Witch of the East's husband,
okay,
who died. Elphaba brings back to life, but in bringing him back to life, turns him into a Tin Man.
as you do, yeah.
And the Scarecrow is Elphaba's boyfriend.
I think
Sorry,
the I
Glinda's
think the
boyfriend, who is deep.
unbelievable part of any of that is the idea that the Tin Man has a wife.
Well, he doesn't anymore. She got crushed by a house. I'm sorry, no,
Okay,
the
I
Scarecrow.
get what
Sorry,
you
this.
mean. That's sort of like we have to shoehorn every things you know in. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and so, and on top of that, it is significantly short. Like the first half of Wicked's about like an hour 15, hour 20.
yeah.
The
Right.
second half is, I think, less than an hour, if like just shy. The
That
second
is
act of
the
Wicked is
way
short.
most big mega musicals go. 90-minute first half, kind of 45 to 50 minute second half, because people need to get home.
Yeah. And again, they are going to have to adapt that to a full, like, at least 2 hour movie, I'd say,
It could be
by
like
the
a
rate the first
Matrix
half had.
Revolution situation. I see. Okay.
But so what I'm thinking is that they're kind of just going to have to put the Wizard of Oz in this movie.
Well, to circle back to the rights thing, I know that MGM own the rights to The Wizard
Mm.
of Oz. And to circle back to, did you ever actually see Oz the Great and Powerful, or whichever it was?
Oh, I did. It was awful. It
Okay.
was drenched.
Basically, that
Oh,
was,
that's Disney.
yes, but I bring it up because that was the way it is. Because they had the rights to Oz the Great and Powerful. Wizard of Oz is actually the second book in the series. It's kind of a
Yeah.
Narnia situation. Like, where the famous one isn't the first one. So in that movie, Disney had to work within copyright. They weren't allowed to use certain shades of green. They weren't allowed to use Dorothy. They weren't allowed to use the costume. They weren't allowed to use like the iconic characters. But the world of Oz, the wizard, maybe it's a little bit like when they tried to do that Tolkien adaptation with none of the Lord of the Rings
Yeah.
stuff. So if MGM, who also did like, James Bond and Rocky and Rakes and Musicals,
Mhm.
if they've produced Wicked, the movie, yes, they have the rights to The Wizard of Oz. If they haven't, no.
It isn't MGM. It's Universal.
In that
But
case, no.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like it's an odd one because then if they're not but like it's really strange. It's like I was so happy that Wicked was good, but I
Hmm.
cannot fathom how they're going. That second half of Wicked is such a weird, nodded fan fiction of the Wizard of Oz. I
Hmm.
just don't know how. And on top of that, I cannot stress enough, all of the good songs are in the first act of Wicked.
Well, again, that's like
Popular.
Hamilton has the same problem. It's like all the good stuff's up front,
That's it. Like yeah,
and
the
then
first
there's a
act.
bit more.
Yeah, the first act has "No One Mourns the Wicked,"
Yeah.
"Popular," "The Wizard and I,"
It
"That
could be
Feeling,"
it could be like a
"Loathing."
Hobbit situation where technically it costs the same amount to film. So no matter what quality the second film is, it'll make the same amount of money and double the profits, like that kind of thing. Like I'm not saying
Oh,
they won't work their hardest to make it good. I'm just saying it may not matter as much.
oh no, it's certainly worse. No, this movie's making millions, but like, but apparently, by all accounts, both Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo are big Wicked fans and like push this movie to be more faithful.
Oh, I'm not
Like,
surprised. The people like I work in drama and like around musical theater people. The people who like Wicked will let you know very, very quickly. It's one of those fan bases like, where they're fully devoted and I know from working with teenagers and stuff that when this film was coming out, there was reasonable trepidation.
well, that's it. When you see a 2.5 hour movie and you say, I think like Dune has started a precedent where I think it worked for Dune, even though it was a little bit side eye when they ended with part one and they wasn't advertising it.
Yeah.
But they're starting to do that where they won't advertise that it's part one. And is there any reason it needs to be? Now, this one they managed to get away with it. They managed to pace it out so that it doesn't feel like a 2.5 hour slog.
Right.
But again, I just